Now, a new campaign to drive positive change around sexual behavior in South Africa's youth has hit the country's institutions of higher learning. Forever Wena seeks to start a movement where young people feel empowered to take control of their sexual health. To discuss this, we are now joined by Neo Machele from Ogilvy SA, who is a partner to the campaign, as well as Dr. Letokwenama Letswalo at Kiredi, which is a movement dedicated to youth health. A pleasure to have you both on the program this afternoon. Neo, I'll start with you. How does your agency approach campaigns like Forever Wena that really aim to inspire behavioral change among South Africa's youth?
Thank you so much for having us and for hosting this conversation. What was important for us was to actually understand the level of vulnerability that we have in the cohort that is facing this challenge. And getting that understanding and their mindset was really important for us to unpack an insight that would motivate a sense of self-power. Historically, what we learned from the research was that the cohort that we're targeting, primarily young people between 15 and 24, and as primary cohort, and then other age groups, was that they have knowledge about HIV and protection. But the motivation is challenged by the issues that they're facing in real life. So we wanted to encourage self-power. We call it agency, self-power. And it was motivated by self-love. We know this generation loves themselves. And we are in the situation where they're able to express that self-love. We just wanted to associate that self-love with agency, for them to know they have the power to stand for themselves and make choices that enable them to live. Hence, Forever Wena, hashtag Forever Wena.
Dr. Letswalo, let's bring you in to give a medical perspective. Can you elaborate on the significance of rallying young people to take control of their sexual health, but also make informed decisions through campaigns like this?
Thank you. Thank you, Sandra, for having me, and good afternoon to your listeners. So Forever Wena is a very, very important campaign. It's important right now, and targeting young people is really what we should be doing, because if we look at the numbers, there are certain population groups that are disproportionately affected by HIV, and that includes women, it's young people, and black people, right? So the numbers that we see from 2023 state that young people between the ages of 15 to 24, specifically women, are twice as affected by HIV than their male counterparts, right? So this brings us to actually formulating interventions that specifically target this population group and say, that's why now we're saying to young people, come, let's have a conversation about HIV. Have you tested for HIV? Do you know your status? If you know your status, are you actually on treatment? So what we're trying to do is actually encourage health-seeking behavior for young people, and hopefully that will drive positive sexual behaviors as well.
Now, when you look at the involvement of celebrities, I know Casper Nyovest is mentioned, former Miss SA, I believe, Zozibini Tunzi is also part of this campaign. So having celebrities involved in campaigns like this, how does it then influence the decisions made by the youth to actually take their health more seriously or get involved?
I think perhaps 2 or 3 reasons. The first one is access. Having influencers, celebrities who can speak in a language that connects with the aspiration and the reality and desires of our target audience. Number 2 is a critical area that we actually thought at this era of actually addressing the HIV protection message is demedicalizing HIV. Having people speak about this in a way that the youngsters believe, actually, you know what, it makes sense. If Casper says that this is the right thing to do, it's more accessible.
Sure.
It moves the conversation from being, coming from on high, very directive to a much more human perspective. And the more often you do that, the more open they are. And I think it also opens other platforms. Social it's a pervasive, strong platform, and that's what it does.
But also speaking about some of the platforms that you'll be using, I do understand that there's a WhatsApp chatbot that you'll be exploring as well. What kind of impact are you expecting from this?
The WhatsApp chatbot is there to be able to serve the right content to the right person. So any person can ask candid conversations, can ask candid questions, and have candid feedback given to them, which is peculiar to them and their situation. So often it's not going to be mass. So imagine it's personalized because the chatbot actually responds to your query.
Right,
and you can ask any question from wherever environment and circumstance. So it's yours. So what impact are we hoping to get? The impact that actually enables that sense of self-power, that sense of agency, that sense of a human expression of the issue that you have.
Dr. Letswalo, let's bring you back. Given the disproportionate impact of HIV, especially on young women aged 15 to 24 in South Africa, what specific strategies do campaigns like this employ to really address this issue, but also, importantly, empower young women to protect themselves?
Thank you for that question. I think we do this in a number of ways, right? So now what we've done with the Forever Winner campaign, we've started a conversation. Some were already having that conversation, some people weren't. And, you know, this conversation is also filled with a lot of misconceptions and myths about HIV, about sexual health, sexual and reproductive health, that is. So number one is starting that conversation and addressing those myths and having people actually know the facts about HIV. So that empowers them, right? Number two is access to services. So we need to improve the access to youth-friendly services, whether that be in our clinics or in our hospitals. Young people often don't feel welcome in those spaces, and we really need to make those spaces comfortable for them. So they need to be designed specifically for young people. And then thirdly is, you know, we need more comprehensive sexual health education. So that starts in the home. That starts at schools. So this is a call to parents, to all the siblings. What conversations are we having about sex at home? At schools, are we actually addressing this topic and removing all the jargon and actually being very candid about it? Because whether we like it or not, young people are sexually active. The numbers are there. We do have a burden, of teenage pregnancies. So what are we actually doing to address that? Thanks.
Now, looking ahead, let's speak about your hopes and aspirations, especially for the long-term impact of the Forever Winner campaign on the sexual health landscape in the country. What are you hoping to get out of this?
Maybe two key metrics. The first one is self-empowerment, agency, where a young person going into the future, a new generation, can actually stand up for themselves and their rights and insist on the protection that they need, or actually does know from that perspective what options are available. Number two is behavioral change. With that kind of self-empowerment and agency, they actually are choosing to say no when they need to say no, or they want to say no, and they are choosing to actually seek and ask for protection wherever they are. And we find that in our research, like youngsters will feel uncomfortable going to perhaps a clinic to ask for something because of shame, or even telling a partner no. So we want to actually encourage that behavioral change born from that agency and self-power.
Let me thank you for your time and also joining us in studio as well. And let me also thank our guest also joining us online. That is Letukwenama Letswalo. She's a medical doctor at Kiredi, but giving us some perspective on this particular important campaign is Neo Machele. She's the Chief Strategy Officer at Ogilvy SA. And of course, giving us some insight into this very important topic as well. Let's move to this now.